Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Here we go. We're getting to that time where we're going to have to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it, but we're going to have to talk about it. The 2019 rules package. I just want to say, I actually want to give credit to NASCAR. I really do want to give credit. I said around the All-Star race, I think, that if they used a plate package for the entirety of the 2019 season, I was out. I wasn't even going to watch. So what do? They don't use the plate package. They're not using it. I got to give them credit. It's clever, man. It's really clever what they were doing. If we had to use the word plate in a lot of these races, it was not going to be a good PR and marketing move for NASCAR at all. So bravo. Bravo. Credit where credit's due. So if you don't know by now, Lee Spencer for RacinBoys.com got an exclusive where he was able to get his hands on a proposed 2019 rules package paper meeting kind of thing. So this was a meeting that all the execs of NASCAR met for in July. They talked about the proposed rulings for the 2019 package. So the All-Star race consisted of a different package that had a higher spoiler with the bunny ears. It had the 2014 splitter. It had aero ducts, and it had a restrictor plate on the engines. It created, as you guys know, a full throttle pack race at Charlotte under really controlled conditions. Had to be a night race, had to be somewhat cool. That way the cars would be able to stay together and be in this drafting package. However, the aero was not really different. It's just the cars were full throttle, so it became a plate race because they were using a restrictor plate and they were going much slower. Very, very slow. They're going around 173 miles per hour by themselves. I think that was Kyle Larson's lap in final practice, which was 173 miles per hour, which is close to what they did in the 1990s. The big difference is the 1990s doesn't have the aero advantages that these cars have now. In the 1990s, the car still had 850 horsepower. It's just the aero was not there, so they were not able to go as fast through the corners, which created such good racing in the 90s and especially the mid-2000s. So for various reasons, including a lot of them very corporate reasons for insurance companies, NASCAR had to slow the cars down from the 2014 package. The 2014 package was the last one that it had 850 horsepower. It was the last true open engine package. 2015, which I think many of us can agree, I've not seen one person say that the 2015 season was a good season in terms of racing, because that was the first season of the tapered spacer that knocked off 125 to 150 horsepower on the cars to slow them down. Again, I believe very strongly this was not for racing purposes. This was for insurance companies because the cars were going too fast. NASCAR's insurance companies were getting a little bit worried due to safety reasons. And while it's completely understandable, and safety is always number one, as you could just see from Bubba Wallace's wreck yesterday, I just don't think they had any racing intentions in mind. It was just to slow down the cars, and they didn't slow it down the proper way. They slowed it down with the engine, not the aero. That's where teams keep gaining on, is the aero. So that's what we've had ever since. We've had the tapered spacer engine package with a low downforce package, taking downforce away. And NASCAR's intention was to get back to that kind of racing where you were able to get through dirty air. But the thing is, with the changes that they've been making, it's not changing the air at all. It's not changing the flow of air. It's just changing downforce levels, changing the way the car drives by itself, but not how it drives around others. Fans were getting really upset, including myself, because the racing has just not been that great at these cookie cutter mile-and-a-half and above tracks. So they introduced the 2018 rules package for the All-Star race. Just want to try to test something. And that brings us to where we are today, where we're talking about 2019 and what we can do. So the potential competition plans for 2019. RacinBoys.com obtained a copy of the NASCAR document featuring the proposed 2019 event implementations at 14 races on next year's schedules. The proposals were kicked around during a July 11th meeting with the NASCAR Rules Committee. According to the agenda, fans could get their first look at the All-Star package at Las Vegas Motor Speedway on March 3rd, followed by tracks like Auto Club. Then the configuration could also be used for both Texas races, the Kansas Speedway races, Michigan Speedway, Charlotte May races, Chicagoland Speedway, Kentucky Speedway, and Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You won't see this package at Martinsville, don't worry about that. Scott Miller, who's NASCAR's Senior Vice President of Competition, confirmed the possibility of the changes on Monday's morning drive, saying that work for 2019 has definitely begun and they're working with the industry to come up with 2019 rules package, and whether or not that incorporates something similar to what we saw at the Charlotte All-Star race, or an iteration of that. So what is this package going to be? And this is the number one thing I feel like we have to get across to many fans. This isn't the All-Star package. They're kind of branding it as the All-Star package, but it's not, because there's a huge difference in this package that is being proposed that is not in the All-Star package and completely changes the way the cars drive. It's not a small change, like changing the spoiler a little bit or using a different splitter. The so-called NA18D race package would feature an engine with a tapered spacer to produce roughly 550 horsepower, which is 150 more horsepower than was generated at the All-Star event in May, while the target RPM is 8,500. NASCAR officials anticipate the configuration will provide significantly improved fuel mileage and the ability to reduce fuel capacity to maintain the same number of laps for a fuel run. NASCAR is working with OEMs, engine builders, and teams to come up with a single rear gear ratio for each race. With the exception of Daytona and Talladega, where the super speedway setup will be used, the remaining tracks would continue using the current package. NASCAR's ultimate goal is to use two unrestricted engine packages, the current open engine and the new 550 horsepower engine. This is where the article really bothers me, and if NASCAR execs are saying this is an open engine package, that's just a complete lie. It's absolutely false. The current package is not open. It has a tapered spacer on it that knocks 150 horsepower. That's not open. So for them trying to push that it's an open engine right now, it's bullshit, and that pisses me off. Now, what would a new 550 horsepower engine do if this is the way that NASCAR goes? Well, here's the thing. We don't know. And here's what bothers me more. What are they trying to achieve? They said they liked what they saw at the All-Star race, and many fans did like what they saw at the All-Star race because it was a controlled environment, and it was basically a package made for the All-Star race, and I'm okay with it being at the All-Star race only. When you brought the package in the Xfinity Series to Pocono and Michigan, my god, those were some of the worst races I've ever seen in my entire life. It's just a single file lane, but closer. Is that really what you want? And now to make it worse for the drivers, they're just full throttle everywhere. It's just boring for them. They're just running in a line and can't make a pass. Kyle Busch, who's easily the fastest car, can't make a pass without help. Is that really what you want? So I'm betting they saw this and they knew that that package wouldn't work with the plate. So they moved it up to 550. Here's my question. What is that supposed to do? Because like I said earlier in the video, the goal is to affect the aero. It's not the engine, it's the aero. It's not as simple as if I go slower by 30 miles per hour and maybe add a spoiler and maybe add the new splitter and aero ducts. That's not enough. It's not going to change the way the air flows that much. If you're trying to get back to 1990s, mid-2000s where the cars are slower through the corners, it's not as simple as just lowering the horsepower. That's not going to do anything. It's all it's going to do is just slow the cars down, but it's not going to change anything in the middle of the corner. And what makes it worse is they haven't tested this. Like, they haven't even tested it. If we're going to roll this thing out for 14 races and we haven't even seen what 550 horsepower is going to do, it's even more of a risk than the plate package, because at least they tested the plate package and got feedback. So I don't know, this is difficult, but I asked you guys on Twitter, would you want this package? And I made sure to include that it's not a plate. That's very important. It's not a plate package. It's 550 horsepower. Would you want that package in 2019? You could see the results. The majority don't want it. And I don't blame them, because horsepower it's an interesting thing, horsepower is. You kind of associate NASCAR with going fast, and you kind of want the horsepower to be there, but also with the current car. And it's not just, I want to make sure people understand, it's not like I'm saying I want more horsepower for the sake of having more horsepower. That's not what I'm saying at all. And I feel like a lot of fans don't want that either. It's kind of coming off like we want more horsepower, but not exactly. The biggest thing to take part in this is you have to understand the car that we're using. So this is what I keep emphasizing. If NASCAR, Scott Miller, anyone, if you guys would just come out and say you're working on a new car to work on the aero changes, we'll shut up, man. I don't care what you put in 2019. Just say you're working on something for 2020 or 2021. Say you're working on a permanent change and a permanent fix with the car. Then we'll shut up, we'll be happy, we'll just deal with whatever has to be thrown at us for the next year or two. But since you're not telling us that, we don't know that if the new car is going to be worked on, so we have to think that maybe the Gen 6 is around for longer. We're not sure. So with the Gen 6 race car, changing what's under the hood won't change the aero of the car. And when people complain about the cars, they're not complaining about it's too fast, it's too slow. It's too fast, too slow. They're complaining about dirty air. That's the number one thing they're complaining about. And I still believe the best way to help that dirty air, you're not going to get rid of it, but the best way to help it is to work on the body of the car. And it's the one thing that NASCAR just isn't willing to do. They're not willing to change the body of the Gen 6 car. I'm not exactly sure the reason why. I have to guess it's for spending reasons. It would also be very expensive to change the engines of the cars as well, the engine package. This is why they're just throwing the tapered spacer on there, because teams don't have to build completely different engines for a tapered spacer. Or at least I don't think they have to. Maybe I'm a little being ignorant here. I don't think they have to change the engines completely, but I'm pretty sure if you change the cubic liter of the engine, you would have to build new engines. So that's what I've been wanting NASCAR to do. do, which is to change the engines to make them a little bit smaller but give the horsepower back. That way you can slow the cars down a little bit but still give that torque and that power. But again, for money reasons, I don't know if they'll ever do that. So obviously, comment down below what you think of that deal, the 550 horsepower. Another thing about the 550 horsepower is this won't be pack racing. It's not gonna be pack racing. With RPMs like 8,500, they're gonna have to get off the throttle a little bit at these tracks. I think it might look more like the Xfinity Series. Xfinity Series cars have 650 to 675 horsepower with the tapered spacer as well. So this car would have 100 less, but I feel like it would be similar to the Xfinity Series, where you're not going to be in a pack, but you're still going to be spread out. To be honest, I don't think it'd be that much different from what we have. I just think the cars would be slower. That's really all I think. It won't really be that different. However, on the positive side, there is some good news in this 2019 proposed plan package. Plans for an updated ECU and digital dash software, adding a high-resolution McLaren steering sensor to the parts database, and something I'm really happy about, eliminating the driver adjustable track bar electronics were also on the docket. I think the track bar adjustment is just not something that should be in the race cars. It allows drivers to maintain the balance of the car over the course of a fuel run. If you don't let them allow the balance of the car, then you have to build more adjustability into the car, and the car could go from tight to loose or loose to tight, comers and goers throughout the field, more passing opportunities with more ill-handling cars. That will be better for the sport. So I'm happy with that change. And then other topics that were discussed were just testing, how testing would work with the new rules package, organizational tests, and all that stuff. Once again, this is a proposed package. Nothing is finalized. Discussions with the industry concerning the 2019 rules package continue as planned, and we look forward to sharing information once the rules have been finalized. So that's why I decided to make the video, to get my point across, and hopefully your guys' points across as well in the comments down below, or Reddit, or Twitter, or wherever you want to put them. I've been very clear with my opinion. If I saw a plate package, I would just stop watching. They were clever. They're not bringing out the plate package right now. They have proposed 550. What I think the 550 would do, I don't think it would do much. I just think it would slow the cars down. That's really, until you change the body of the cars, I don't think much is going to change, unless you limit maybe what the teams can do in terms of aero, which I don't even think is possible, because they'll always get smarter and always learn. I don't think things are going to really change. However, I still think they're going in the wrong direction. I still think taking horsepower away is not the right move. I don't think the initial tapered spacer in 2015 was made for racing purposes. I think it was made for insurance companies, so the cars would be slower. And now they're trying to find a band-aid fix around that, because maybe they can't go back to 850 horsepower. I don't know the logistics of it. It's all a corporation now. That's what NASCAR has turned into. So I don't know, but I do hope one day that they mandate smaller engines that keep the horsepower. Until then, we're just going to have to deal with whatever's dealt with. I'll probably still be watching in 2019 if it's not a plate package. We'll still have short tracks. Obviously, you can tell I'm pretty disappointed. I'm not going to hide how disappointed I am. I just wish they could just not take the horsepower away. It's just not... I don't see what they're seeing. I really don't. I'm trying to understand what they're thinking. I really am. I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying to support the sport, but they're not helping me. They're not helping me at all support the sport. And I continue to see fans leave in droves, and I continue to see just fans complaining because the racing is not what it should be. And I don't know what to do. I just have opinions, I think, on a direction that they should go and things that they should test, but it's just, I don't know, man. So if you guys like the video, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. I think I touched on everything. If there's anything more I'm going to touch on, do it in future videos. There's something I really want to touch on with the competition levels. There's some comments by Parker Kligerman that really brought my eyes open and educated me basically in why the competition gap is as large as it is, and I feel like I should explain that to you guys as well if you haven't seen those comments. So I'll make a video on that. And yeah, hopefully... I don't think the final 2019 rules package is going to be much different from this one. Maybe a few tweaks, but we'll see what happens. I'll see you guys later. Hope you're having a fantastic day, and peace out.
I can't change. Even if I tried, even if I wanted to, and I can't change. Even if I tried, my love, she keeps me warm.